So who's up first?
Arthur, Cordarrelle, what he brings to you? What can he do for you?
Yeah, CP obviously played a lot of positions, even in my history with him. It's fourth year in a row I've been with him. He adds a different element. He started his career as a wideout, played running back for us, just another weapon we have on offense. So it's good to have him back out here.
Arthur, what are your takeaways from the game on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously nobody's happy with the snap issues. Those are the things that, I mean, at any level, that's the stuff that gets you beat. Uh, we have an urgency about it, and we have to be more detailed. And those are the things that you can't have the positive drives, the chunk plays, and then have the self-inflicted. And you say that in total respect to Houston. You just don't want to beat yourselves, and that's what the NFL game is. But too many drives. I mean, thankfully that was the preseason, but no matter if it's a practice or a preseason, we don't want that. That's why we play the guys, and we got to get that stuff cleaned up, and we needed it cleaned up yesterday.
What'd you
Arthur,
take
there's
away?
two receivers, Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson, that you have familiarity with.
Yeah,
What do you think they're really bringing to your offense this year with, that whole number two receiver off to the Pickens? What do you think they can bring to
yeah,
your
we've
offense?
got multiple weapons, and you guys have been out here and see how we move guys around, and Van is healthy. We got him in LA. He was coming off an injury. We got him after camp. Scotty's both those guys have played on Super Bowl winning teams. They got a lot of experience. They're hungry, um, and they both of them have excellent camps.
Obviously, there were those self-inflicted wounds in Justin's series, but what did you like about those three series that he was out there for?
Yeah, I thought he was decisive. He was able. I thought he threw a great ball to Van. Some things. You know, regardless of whoever gets online and tries to break things down and know what's what. We one thing is shared accountability with the protections, the route depths. Winning versus man. There's a lot of things that can be true in one play, and we got to continue to improve. But I thought, we got our own way. I thought he operated pretty well, and there were some things we also wanted to work. That's the fine line. Some people want to be too vanilla in the preseason. Other people trying to set things up. We got to work on things. We leaned heavy into the screen game. That was intentional to get those reps live. It'd be maybe a different theme depending on how we decided in the week against Buffalo. So you're working multiple things. But I thought, other than the CQ issues, again, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. They happen. We got to get cleaned up on. As quarterback center, we can't have that. But other than that, I thought he operated pretty well.
Arthur,
With
how
that,
do you
with
coach the
that,
quarterbacks go for it versus protect the ball? I mean, throw a 50-50 ball versus don't throw an interception. How do you handle the thin line there?
That is, and those are things we try to be aggressive in practice. I mean, you want to be smart but not reckless. We have a lot of team speed, and so we've tried to push the ball down the field. You guys watched a lot of practices, and yeah, what you can't have happen is late poor decisions. You get into these spot drop zones and you're late, and those guys break on the ball. We got 50-50 balls, especially with certain guys we have. We want to see them give them a chance. There's risk in every play, but when we have the speed we have, and certainly guys like George that can go get the ball, we definitely times we certainly want to err on the side of being more aggressive.
And
Arthur,
with
is
what
that,
that
did you
all
see
based
from?
on what the defense is doing, or are there times where you'll say
Well,
Joe
yeah,
Smith's getting the
you're
ball
playing
here?
percentages. Those are the things. If anybody gets up here and says, "Oh, I know exactly what they're going to be," well, they may be 80%, but they have a say in it too, and they game plan. So you're also working in progressions and answers. But if we get the looks, we've got the green light, and so that's what again we're trying to push these guys, and it
Arthur, what
also
did?
fits with our overall philosophy with the
I'm,
personnel we have.
I'm sorry, man. What did you see from Troy in the game? What that you
Yeah,
like?
well, all three of those rookies, lights weren't too big for them on the first snaps. Troy, I didn't even realize, he had an injury because he kept playing and he just asked for a knee brace. So at least he got thankfully he'll be all right. But it shows who he really is when you get in those moments. And I thought all three of those guys wasn't perfect, but they played well. They, exactly what we thought they were when we drafted them. It was good to see.
Justin mentioned after after the first game that the preseason's kind of a good time to learn your workflow, how you
Sure.
run games, communication. What's your philosophy when it comes to dealing with your quarterbacks on the sideline?
Yeah, it's you don't want to overreact. All you're trying to do is problem solve, and you got to get to know each other. So try to stay as neutral as possible. It was one thing in Tennessee. I thought we got in a good flow. Ryan and I did. This is a unique situation. Everybody's new in that room. I'm new to them. So it's important when you go in the preseason, so you're not having those, you're feeling each other out. So when you get into week one, and that'll grow as the season goes on too. But I thought all those guys, Kyle and Justin, even Junior, he didn't play on quarterback, but the communication I thought was excellent.
You,
With
you
Justin-
made
This
a-
question about the wide receivers that you were asked.
Mhm.
Over your time, be it in Tennessee or Atlanta, I know that you've been very tight end reliant, use a lot of tight ends and lean into the run game. How important is a second wide receiver in your offense?
Well, every year is different. I mean, there's some years. I mean, if you feel like you've got a strong group, there may be weeks you may be short two guys. So you're trying to develop and get the best personnel groups, and a lot of it's matchup based. Things we want to attack the defense, and we think maybe their weaknesses, we have an advantage. And some weeks it may be different. They may be pretty salty in the run, and you may not want to get them in a lot of base, and you may want to spread them out. But any amount of great players, it's our job to figure it out. And you just have to have a contingency plan. Same thing at tackle. As you're trying to get your top 8, well, you may have certain guys that may be one position. You may have a guy that can actually do both. And, in the perfect world, you love your third tackle to play both, but that's not the issue. And you've got a starter that can do both. So those are things you're trying to problem solve. And the same thing with the skill positions. Guys get more comfortable in it. You never know. A guy may have to be elevated from practice squad, and it may be the tight end's better than the fifth wide receiver. And so that's kind of carries week to week.
Do you feel like you have enough there after George right
All
now?
I worry about is who I have. Those are the things. Like, there's a practicality. It's a lot of wasted energy, and everybody would love to have the perfect roster. That just doesn't exist. And so you just deal with what the reality is. And if they, like I said, I'll coach whoever they bring in here. It's our job and my job, more importantly, to worry about the guys that are here and try to put them in the best spots.
You
mentioned
Justin's
Justin's
usage last year, and we've seen a lot of Jack Coletto here as
Mhm.
well. What do you like about having a fullback in your offense?
Again, it goes back to matchups. If we're playing a team that we think it gives us advantage, playing two backs, again, how much you want in that game plan. And I'll give Jack a lot of credit. We challenged him, and I thought he's been very physical out here, and he's a smart football player. And it's the big picture will have to develop. But if somebody's up, it may be a week where you have a full back up, and it may not. The easiest way to get a roster, whether you're a backup, tight end, receiver, running back, or fullback, is to do really well for Danny. Then you get a helmet every week, and then we can use those guys. So it's just a lot of collaboration, and but that's what we're working through right now.
What have you
mentioned
learned about
Justin's-
Connor Hayward and how he's kind of fit within your offense and what you're doing?
Yeah, Connor's another guy, unique football player, different CP, but a guy that played different spot in college, and very good spatial player. He's a good teamer, tough football player, and so it's been fun, trying to move Connor around.
You mentioned Justin's decisiveness in the game. How much does that stem from his footwork and going back to what was natural for him in
It's
Ohio
confidence,
State?
Justin is an extremely intelligent player, and again, when you're trying to get guys comfortable with what we're asking them to do, and really get a feel for him, and I thought so far in this camp, he looks more comfortable every day, and the biggest challenge is he's got to show up on game day and continue to build from there. And it's now Russ is back, and we've been pushing Russ, and see what it looks like at the end of the week.
Does
Are
that
there-
does the confidence come from not having to think through the footwork? I know the Chicago kind of method at first. He was going right foot forward, then
Yeah,
left foot.
I
How
just
much
worry
does that
about
matter?
sure, and that's part of it with the conversation with Justin, going back to his history. He's done it multiple ways, and that's the trust you're trying to build between. You can't be so rigid. And your receiver, he may release a certain way, and another receiver doesn't. It's not one size fits all, but ultimately it's about the players and us figuring out their strengths and how it fits together with all 11 of them out there. And it's been a fun group to coach.
Is the plan for Russ to start? Is the plan for Russ to start on Saturday?
We'll see how the week goes, and obviously Mike will answer that in collaboration with the medical staff. And it's good to have him back out here, but that'd be a question better suited for Mike.
Sorry, excuse me. Arthur, at this point, do you see Fields having some packages on third downs, maybe short yardage, with that athleticism?
We got a long
You
way
see
to
a
the
lot of
opener. I know
it
we're a month in, but I respect the question. But we'll just see how this whole thing plays out.
How much has Zach grown is what you guys been able to ask from him at center?
I'm sorry,
How much has Zach Frazier grown and what you've been able to ask from him at center?
A lot,
How much further does he have to grow to be the starter?
Well, sometimes it's not just about Zach. I mean, we've got a good depth in the line room. There aren't any more injuries. So I think Zach's had a terrific camp. But, credit to Nate and some of these other veteran linemen. It was cool. Spencer Anderson, I thought, stepped up the other night. And continue to see that. That's a good problem to have when you've got good depth in it. It's hard to pick who your 8 are on game day. But been very pleased with all the rookies. And like I said, sometimes it gets expedited. You may not have somebody in front of us playing well, or there may be an injury, but it'll all play itself out. And, that is a little bit of a challenge when you've got multiple quarterbacks. You don't have a quote unquote coming into camp. Everybody's new. With the line, you're mixing and matching. So those guys have handled that. You know, some years you'd love to have everybody back, but you've always got to develop the second and third lines, because the reality is you'd love to have everybody for 17 plus games. That's usually doesn't happen.
Arthur, who has seized opportunity at receiver for you out there?
Well, a lot of the guys you mentioned, and opportunities available everywhere. I think you've seen it from Van, you've certainly seen it from Scotty, seen it from Dez. I thought Quez had a good bounce back. Calvin's been very consistent. So, as this thing continues to play out, but I've been very pleased with that group right there.
Regarding drought details
Last one.
of the offense, how hands-on do you like to be when it comes to coaching the concepts, when it comes to when stuff like what happened off of the CQ exchange?
Yeah, it's all of us, but yeah, certainly that I bear that responsibility. That's part of being accountability. I always thought this. I learned this from a great quarterback. When you're a head coach or a play caller or a quarterback in this league, you got to stand in the good and bad, and you better be accountable. And that's all, better or worse. That I take that personal. And then we have great coaches and the players too. And we talk about shared accountability. It's not a point, it's his fault, whatever. We got to get it fixed, and all we want to find is solutions and not let that stuff happen.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Take it. Oh, no. Hand it off you.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.